Lectures can be overwhelming and intimidating, even for veteran students. The best way to get everything out of each class is to go in prepared so that you can extract the most information out of the professor every single lecture. Today, we're going to discuss how to prepare for lectures so you can get the most out of every single class. These steps are going to leave you prepared so that you are reviewing the information, not just learning it for the first time. This is something that I did before every class. I turned it into a routine. By the way, I'm Terrell, and this is Absolutely Studying. I bootstrapped my way through university while juggling a full-time job and a family. It was not easy, and that's why I want to pay it forward. I want to supply you with all of the resources and support you need to flourish in your academic career. Today, we are talking about lecture prep. I'm going to give you my step-by-step strategy for preparing for each and every one of your classes. Let me know in the comments if you currently prepared for your classes, or do you just show up and wing it? And while you're down there, my study planner is in the description as always. Download it for more than 20 different study activities. The best way to prepare for lecture is to already know what's coming. Follow your progress on your syllable and anticipate upcoming topics. If you know what the lecture is about, you can better prepare what's going to happen when you get there. Before you show up to class, review your notes from last class. These will often give you an indication or some kind of hint as to what you're going to talk about next class. If your professor is benevolent enough to give you the slides before next class, print those out and look over them. See what they're going to talk about so that you know and you're prepared and you have some kind of idea of what's coming at you. Write down questions you don't understand from your last class. Make sure that you clear up any information from stuff that you've already discussed, especially if you look and see and realize that something's coming up that's not what you already talked about. If your professor is leaving that information behind, make sure to clarify before you get too far away from it. The farther you get away from it, the more of it you're going to forget, and the harder it's going to be able to be to actually explain what you don't understand because you will be missing so much information. Next, read the section of the textbook that covers that concept before coming to class. You don't necessarily have to write notes at this point. I don't write notes. I usually will read over it and make sure I highlight what I think is important, along with any important terminology, names, dates, stuff like that. I will save my note writing for afterwards so that I can reinforce the information and decide if I really understood it or if it was much easier than I thought. Next, do a little bit more research on confusing concepts. If there's something that you don't quite understand after reading it in the textbook, go online and check up some tutorials or even watch a documentary on the subject. See if there is another way of explaining it that makes more sense to you so that you're a little bit more comfortable. The idea here is that by the time you get into lecture, you want to be reviewing the information, not hearing it for the first time. Write down questions on those concepts if you still need more clarification. That way, you can ask the professor as they go over it to clarify. This is going to be so much easier because they're already explaining it and they're in the moment and they can actually have all of the props and everything they need to explain it right there and on hand. They're already explaining it. If you tell them that you don't understand a certain piece of it, it's so easy to break down that piece in the moment rather than having to come back to it the following class. Next, write down 2 or 3 goals for the lecture. If there is a confusing concept, maybe your goal is to clarify or have the teacher draw a diagram of that process. If it is that you want to make sure to figure out a better way to explain a definition, then write that down too. Have 2 or 3 clear takeaways that you want to take out of the lecture and have them on your paper, ready to learn, ready for you to watch for. One of those goals might even be a question that you want to ask. This is going to help you to be more active in the lecture because now you're actively seeking out information rather than passively waiting for it to come for you. Write down any new words or terminology that you're not fluent on and define them. This could be also something that you might not quite understand from your readings and you want the teacher to better explain. New terminology is like the language of the class, and so having a firm grasp on it is going to be able to help you to better understand it and speak in the language of the information. If you can use these terms rather than watered down versions of them, you're going to be able to understand and express your thoughts better, and that's going to heighten your learning experience. If you don't quite understand an explanation of a term, I'm sure your professor would be more than happy to take a couple seconds out of the lecture and explain it. A lot of people are nervous with asking questions during class, but the truth is that if you're unclear on it, a lot of other students probably are as well. You have to think, in a lot of these classes, there's 200-300 students. You're not the only one having this thought, and you're not the only one struggling with that word. Ask it out loud, and a lot of other people will also be thankful. They might not even realize that they've struggled with it if they did not take the time to prepare for the lecture like you did. The entire purpose of all of this preparation is to learn the concept before class. That way, you're having the professor review it with you rather than teach it to you. This is really helpful because this is essentially your first study session, and the professor can help you to make sure that what you're studying in the study session is correct rather than studying the wrong information indefinitely. Now that you know and you understand the concept, you're just reviewing it. So that means that the teacher can go through and let you know what's important, let you know what's not important, and maybe clarify some misunderstandings that you have from your first thoughts on the concept. Finally, listen to other people's questions. This is so important because often people have really great questions. Not only could the questions ask something that you might not realize you don't know, even better, they might ask a question that you actually know the answer to. Try answering these questions in your head and see if what the professor says to answer them is the same as what you thought the answer was. This is almost like a pop quiz where you're testing yourself of the actual knowledge in real time and checking the answer as well. You might be kind of worried about how you're going to fit all of this into your study plans, and I can help you with that. If you pick up the study planner, it has more than 20 different study activities and helps you to jot them out through the entire semester. It can help you track each and every study activity that you do over the course of the entire semester so that you can make sure that you're hitting up the information more than once over several months. This is the best way to study. Pick it up for free. It's in the description below, and it's ready for you to download. While you're down there, like this video and subscribe to my channel. I put out a new video every Thursday, and it is always about study tips, organizational hacks, and homework help to help you through the study struggle. You can also visit my website for tons of free resources and useful articles. And until next time, I hope you have an amazing adventure.